Hello everybody! Good evening! This is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you game number 6 of this clan war against Eternal Dreamers and Killing Spree. Very, very good game. Last game by Migraine. And let's go ahead and introduce our players here on Polar Night, spawning in the southern portion of this map. It is going to be Killing Spree's Zort 2v2. And spawning in the northern portion here on Polar Night, it is going to be Eternal Dreamers Migraine. Now that I've botched up the intro, and everybody is happy and laughing and probably making awful comments at me down in the chat, I know you are, I can read them, we will have to see how this all turns out. Finally! Something other than a PvT. Now we're back to the mundane PvZ. Awesome. Actually, this is my favorite matchup, so I can't complain too much. So, we had a very, very good game last game. Very, very close calls from both players. Mech is still super strong. I feel like had he just gone for the base race, he probably had the opportunity to take that game. But since he didn't really ever commit to it, he was just kind of chilling out in the middle of the map. Obviously, Migraine was able to whittle his forces down slowly. Now, this is a little bit of a risky move. Oh, wait. Pylon's already down here at the bottom. So, my guess is going to be Nexus first into a Forge. Obviously, on such a very close spawn position map, it's going to be a lot more easier to hold a Forge fast type expand build as opposed to a gateway expand. So Forge is going to be going down, and actually this hatchery is getting denied significantly amount. We've already got 100 extra minerals mined, and actually the pylon is going to go ahead and get planted down to deny it. So definitely a nice little win. Migraine's probably feeling pretty decent about that. And actually it looks like I'm just going to call him Zor, because 2v2 is kind of like whatever. So yeah, Zor it is. Yeah, Zor was supply blocked a little bit, so Lings are now going to get out on the field and clean up this pylon. And it looks like Migraine's just going to basically do a little bit of patrolling while he gets up his cannon in his gateway and finishes off his wall. And should more or less be safe up until about the time speed is done. Now, obviously, we do not see any gas going down from Zor, so basically, this is probably a pretty good indication that he's going to be trying to take a very, very early third. And the probe is not going to get away. I was going to say, man, that would have been just absolutely epic had the probe just been completely ignored. So Cybernetics core going to be going. Now, is there a? I don't know if there's a. I don't think there's a hole there, but we'll have to find out. So double gas going down in the main. Pretty typical follow-up to a Forge fast expand or Nexus first into a Forge. Gonna be ready, pretty much to get up his mothership core as soon as the Cybernetics core finishes, and probably also his warp gate research. Still, no gases. Actually, double gases. Very interesting play. Now, this could... I really don't know what this means. I haven't seen a double gas taken from a Zerg player like this in a long time, so I'll be very interested to see what the indication that is. Now, I would think that the follow-up would be kind of like a Baneling bus type play. But we'll have to see. Larva injects going down. Creep's starting to spread. This queen's got a... Oh, okay. There's already one queen down there. So this queen's gonna come down and do her little stuff. Now the probe is gonna come out here and be like, wait a second, there should be a third here. And yeah, he's pretty much kind of in the dark at this point. Now, obviously we didn't have a too early sentry, so we're basically gonna be missing out on any type of hallucinated Phoenix Scout, but we do have a Stargate coming down in the back of Migraine's base, so he's actually going to be putting himself into a good position to get a little bit of scouting down. I would assume that he would go Phoenix, because Oracles in this matchup just tend to not work out too well. So So yeah, so things are definitely looking fairly decent for Migraine. Now, he has been mining out of Zor has been mining out of 2 gas for a significant amount of time, and is actually going up to a 3rd gas, so I kind of would have expected at least Lair to have gone down by now. Oh, double Evo. Okay, so going for really, really fast upgrades. And speed's about halfway done, so very interesting. So definitely not... I guess this isn't too bad. Obviously, he's going to have a little bit to deal with the Phoenix that are coming out. That will be a little bit of an issue, but he's already got his Spore Crawlers out on the map, so he should be ready by the time those get over to his side of the base. So yeah, so Robotics Facility now going down, so it looks like he is going to not be focusing heavily on his Stargate play. Is going to be switching over into something a little bit more, I wouldn't say standard, I'd just say start focusing on his ground army, I would say. 3rd base is now coming down for Zor, so he's definitely starting to... I feel like this is a little bit late. Obviously, when your opponent goes for a very, very fast Nexus first, you need to catch up a little bit more in economy as Zerg. So I would have thought that that would have gone down a lot earlier. So yeah, and actually, the pylon's actually going to be very useful. Going to be able to warp in probably a couple Zealots before he chooses to go in here. He actually might wait until this finishes just to see if he can get enough damage. Now, a whole bunch of leads coming across the map and actually might do... Oh, actually catching that Zealot off guard. Needs to be a little bit careful because this Sentry, obviously, if the Zerglings come in here to try and bust through, could throw down a pretty decent force field, catch them all in this nice little crevice here. So definitely needs to be very cautious of that. Now, as far as the Phoenix harassment going, things are looking pretty good. A couple Overlords being done, obviously. Right now we've got 700 resources so far lost for the Zerg player. That number is climbing pretty quickly. He actually might be able to take out one of these Queens fairly quickly. Oh, nice transfuse. So actually all of these Phoenixes are going to go ahead and live to see another day. It looks like this pylon is going to get cleaned up after all. So once the hatchery finished... he was able to see that and recognize that, hey, this could be a problem. So Robotics Bay, about halfway done. So definitely going to be switching over to his Colossus tech. Now, he hasn't been focusing too terribly much on his ground army, so Probe decides that he wants to go out and play on the map a little bit, but didn't do a mineral click through. Now, he was going to be looking to take his 3rd. Obviously, that's going to be significantly delayed. Probably would have gotten killed off by all those slings. So, overall, not too terrible for him. Phoenix definitely still getting a little bit done. Obviously, we got a handful more. I think those were just the handful of lings that got killed. So yeah, so both players playing very, very passively. Now we do have Hive already on the way out. 2-2's about halfway done, so it looks like he's actually going to be going for a Infestor Ultralisk type play. I kind of would have expected the Spire to be out if he was planning on going... Yeah, there's the Ultralisk Cavern. So yeah, so he's definitely going to be going for a Ling Ultra Infestor composition, which I think is actually going to play out fairly well for him. Obviously, since his opponent's been focusing heavily on his air, mainly on Phoenix for that matter, there's really not much that Phoenix can do against Ultralisks. So Ultralisks are definitely going to be able to do a significant amount of damage if, assuming they don't get scouted now. Colossus production has started. Our first Colossus will be popping out here very, very shortly. And as far as scouting wise, he's seen the Infestation Pit, and he has also seen the Hive. But does he recognize that there is an Ultralisk Cavern already out on the field, pretty much already out on the field? So he needs to be very, very careful and really needs that information. Now, if we look at the units tab, we can see that the Protoss player actually is significantly ahead as far as the worker count goes, which is definitely going to put the Zerg player a little bit on the back foot. But obviously, having the higher tech units is going to be kind of the edge that Zor's going to have over his opponent. So we'll have to see how this plays out fairly shortly. Like I said, it's been a very, very passive game so far. A lot of drones just getting picked off one by one. These Phoenix. Migrate's been doing a very, very good job of keeping all of his Phoenix alive. Pretty much pretty much, I think all of them, all the ones that have been built so far have more or less been kept. Looking at the units lost tab, we still only have the 600 resources. So yeah, so Lings and Ultras are now out on the field, gallivanting about, doing their own little things. Now, a couple more Ultras are out on the way. Now, this is going to be very, very difficult for Migraine to hold, just because he only has one Colossus out. He's actually going to go ahead and do a preemptive photon overcharge, because he knows that things are not looking very good. And actually, looks like this Colossus might actually get taken out here. He needs to be very, very careful. Zealot's holding its own very well, but a little bit of missed micro. Really needs to get his army back into position, and it looks like Migraine's actually going to back off of this. I'm actually a little bit surprised. Now the infestors are getting picked up, so a significant... they're not really doing anything. So the infestors are actually getting taken out little by little, and hallucinated Colossus and Archon. So it looks like Migraine's like, well, I don't have a bigger army, but it's not like you can see whether or not my army's real or not. So, yeah, Phoenix are going to scout the army going back home, so things are definitely looking a lot better for Migraine. Obviously, his unit count is significantly higher. If we take a look at the units tab, we can see that they're still very toe-to-toe on the workers, but overall, his units are, you know, he's got a lot more supply than his opponent. And actually, Migraine's going to go ahead and scout this 4th as well, which is actually very disjunct from his 3rd base. So Zor is definitely going to need to start spreading his creep very, very quickly if he wants to make sure that he can defend off this 4th. So Zealot going to be taking off this watchtower, and it looks like both players are now pretty comfortable with just kind of sitting back and getting to that maxed out position. Now, as far as production goes, we're looking at a 4th base now going down for Migraine. Definitely taking the safer 4th base. Zealot obviously scouting this one. Now, I'm really surprised that Zor didn't go ahead and bust down these rocks to take a very, very safe 4th himself, because I feel like that's kind of the better of the 2 options. But Lings and Ultras are now out on the field once again, prancing around like... I'm not going to finish that analogy. That just wasn't going to go anywhere good. So yeah, so it looks like Zor is definitely a little hesitant to go ahead and engage in this. Obviously, with 3 Colossus out on the field, as well as a handful of Archons and Immortals, he definitely needs to be very, very careful about how he engages his army. Really needs to make sure that his surface area is good, and that he's able to get in a proper position. Now, the Zealots already took out this 4th base, so things are definitely looking for really good for Migraine. He's taking out the 4th and actually is starting to harass the 3rd, and might actually be able to do a significant amount of damage to it. Obviously, we got a handful of Lings taking out these Zealots, but and it is going to finally get cleaned up. So, small little counter... I'm really confused. What happened to the army? Okay, so basically a handful of the Zealots went to go check out this base here, and he's basically just reinforcing with more Archons back here. Now, this base is actually going to more or less get taken out, canceled immediately. Now, he should be able to start posturing out his army in a more favorable position. Looks like Zord's going to go ahead and start to think about taking more bases, and ooh, a couple of free Vipers, definitely not looking very good for the Zord, and wow, there's just too much going on. It's like, holy cow, everything's going everywhere. So yeah, so 4th base now finally getting reestablished for Zor. Obviously, a handful of Lings coming out here to check out and see what's going on. I still am really surprised that he hasn't taken the space. I would have thought that... Ooh, these... Those more or less got eaten. Well, I guess he didn't really need the sentries. Sentries really aren't going to do too terribly much in this engagement, since there really aren't anything that shoot anything. So, very big, heavy drone transfer, and actually all of these Lings are going to come in here and actually ravage the natural. There's really not that much that Migraine can do about this, and actually all these probes down to the natural are going to more or less die. Now, there is one Overseer out on the field, so if that can get taken out, the DTs that are out on the field will actually be able to reign supreme. Dark Shrine is actually going to get taken out, and a couple Zealots being warped in. So he definitely needs to come in here and do a significant... Archon's doing a significant amount of damage. Really nice feedback going out back on those Vipers. All the Colossus still remain fully intact, and Migraine really needs to start dealing with these Lings. These Lings are doing a significant amount of damage, but all of these Ultralisks are just melting to these Colossus. And I think this is actually going to get pushed back in with all of these Queens out on creep. There's really not much that they're going to be able to do. So that's definitely not going to put Zor in a very good position. However, he is maxing out on 11 more Ultralisks, and Lings are still coming into the main and ravaging the main. So things are definitely not looking very good for Migraine. He's lost a lot, and now with a Warp Prism out of the field, obviously he's going to be able to posture out more in an aggressive manner, but it's going to be very, very difficult for him to go ahead and, you know, take out his opponent just because he doesn't have a whole lot to re-max on. Obviously, these Lings are still sitting in his main, so he's a little scared of those. And, okay, these Zealots should hopefully clean that up. But he hasn't reestablished his natural, and he really needs to start thinking about putting on a little bit more pressure. Now, they are both on 3 bases, so things aren't completely in Zor's favor. But he definitely needs to be very careful. Also, the shields upgrade really isn't going anywhere without a pylon doing anything. So, Warp Prism's coming around, going to be doing a little bit of a drop in the back of the main. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that. Now that probe, poor probe, just absolutely, he's like, I wonder what I'm going to be doing today, and then gets absolutely gobbled up by an Ultralisk. So, oh my gosh, so much going on. Now the Warp Prism is going to go ahead and come in here. A lot of Zealots coming in, and actually this Ultralisk Cavern might actually get taken out very, very simply. Now, Colossus getting some very, very nice free shots off, and there goes down the Ultralisk Cavern, including the Infestation Pit. A couple of the Ultras are taking out the Cybernetics Core, so he needs to be very, very careful. And I'm not sure if Migraine's going to have enough. We'll have to see. Actually, the supplies are actually more in favor of Migraine, so we'll have to see how this all plays out. Now this Ultralisk, goes to Ultralisk. Ultralisks are actually melting very, very quickly to all of these Immortals, and actually, I think this is actually going to go in favor of Migraine. Plus, with all of the Zealots out on the field, he really should just take out the spawning pool and should be in a very, very good position, just counter and win. Zor is just not keeping up with the production. Obviously, if we look at the units tab, he's only got 18 larvae, so things are a little bit on his back foot. Obviously, he's lost all of his structures that have built units. Now, let's see. He does have a spawning pool and a Spire out on the field, so pretty much all he's going to be able to make are Mutalisks, Corruptors, and Lings. So he really, really needs to get his tech structures back up. He's struggling to get his lair up. Once his lair gets up, I think he'll be in a much better position. But as of right now, Migraine has scouted well, I guess, yeah, it would be the 3rd attempt of the 4th base. So I'm really surprised Migraine isn't choosing to move out at this point. I mean, obviously, there are still a significant number of Ultralisks out on the field. There's still 10, but that's really all he's got. 10 Ultras and 17 Mutas. Holy cow, where did those come from? The Mutas actually might pose to be the biggest threat, I would think. Will the Zealots get the hatchery? Not quite. Close, but there is a significant number of Stalkers and High Templars out here, so as long as this engagement goes fairly decently with a nice clumped up Mutaball, I think Migraine should be able to take this engagement fairly well. Now, looks like Zor's just like, screw it, I'm going to attack your base and see what you can do about it. Now, there is no Mothership Core with this army, so he's going to either need to retreat as quickly as possible or simply go for the base race. And that's really the only option he has. So, this base is more or less going to get taken out very, very quickly. All these structures are going down, and actually, a lot of Overlords going down significantly. Supply capping Zor, and actually that's going to put him in a very, very awkward position. Now, basically at this point, Migraine needs to make the decision, do I go back and defend, or do I sit here and just take everything out? Obviously, the Zerg army is going to be a little bit more on the mobile side just because of all of the mutas that are out on the field. And basically, Migraine just needs to make the call of whether or not he's just going to go for it. Now, as far as, we'll go ahead and keep an eye on the Structures tab, because that's probably going to be the most important thing here since the base race is on. Now, there is a significant number of Ultras going through Migraine's base, so it will simply be a matter of who can go ahead and take out the other guy's structures. Now, a Nexus is going down here in the lower right-hand corner that has yet to be scouted by Zor, so things are looking very, very good for Migraine. Looks like he's going to go ahead and dissect some of his army so he can go ahead and take out these structures a little bit more efficiently. Zor is out of units, and as we can see, there's only a single Spire and the Extractor left. All he has to do is take out the Extractor, and he has won. He needs to realize it. Oh my gosh, go and take it out. And it's over. Migraine is going to take game number 7. And no, that will be game number 6, and we are all tied up here. Oh yeah.